Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on Disney Plus. It's time for our weekly live Q&A here on YouTube. So a big hello and happy new year to everyone joining. This is our first live Q&A for the year. So a big hello to everyone. So you see a few people here in the live stream. We've got Caleb, we've got Keenan, we've got Noxwave and Dana. So a big hello to all of you. Hope you all had a fantastic holiday. Kind of quite nice actually having a few weeks off. Was just it was just nice having a few days. It's good that Kayla says you can hear me, so that's good. So that was quite nice. So obviously we're back to normal routine. So we'll be continuing to have these live Q&As each and every week right through the year, unless I'm on holiday or I'm not feeling very well. But generally that's the plan, is just to carry on as normal. So this live stream, what we do is every single week I answer your questions from our patrons and our YouTube channel members. So you can submit questions in advance. We've got lots of questions already submitted. You can also join in live in the live chat. If you're a YouTube channel member, you can put in your questions through that way. You can also use the super chat function as well to send in your questions. And this is really a way of just, a way of supporting the site and the YouTube channel and just supporting me, my family, and everything. So it's fantastic for all of your support. And if you would like to become a member, please do. That would be a fantastic thing. Also, you can use the gift membership option and stuff like that as well. So, as I said, got lots and lots of questions. But before we do that, quick little bit of housekeeping. As I said, this will be every Sunday. We'll be doing one of these. During the week, you will be getting news updates, depending on how many. They could be between 1 and 3, depending on how much news there is. If there are any interviews that I will be doing, they'll be going out. Generally, I try to keep them for Saturdays, but if they're time sensitive, they'll go up a little bit earlier. But yeah, so I'll be doing news updates each and every day, really depending on the news. So I've been doing like a daily update for a couple of years because there was just so much news, and part of me really wants to carry on doing that. I love doing it that way. It's a great way for me to do it in one fell swoop, do some answer questions and just talk about what's new and stuff today. However, the simple truth is, going through the analytics, and I did a few little tests and stuff over the last year. I did it about 3 or 4 times where I did little experiments, so then I could not just base it just on like 1 or 2 things. Nearly every single video that was in my top viewed videos were a single story videos. So that was kind of along the lines of, when I think it was like 9 out of 10 were like that, it was very much saying that the audience seems to prefer those single videos. So that's what I'll be continuing to do. So that is the new plan. So there'll be between 1 and 3 news videos a day, depending on how much news there is. Sometimes that will spread over into the weekend if there's a few extra ones, but that is the plan to go forward. Yeah, so we won't be doing the daily video in the same format. If you've got any questions, you can use them here in the Q&A. But that's the plan moving forward. So just thought I'd just kind of give a little bit of an update. Right. Okay. Let's start. So we've had a few questions over the holidays. We had sort of stuff going on with reports of Warner Brothers meeting up with Paramount, which has caused a whole load of speculation. So there was a couple of questions about it. I thought that was actually kind of an interesting kind of topic. So I asked you, what do you think is going to happen to Paramount? Will they sell it to Comcast? Will they sell it to Warner Brothers Discovery? Will they sell it for parts, or will it stay as it is? Anyone can vote. You don't have to be a member or anything like that, so you can continue to vote. At the minute, 37% think it's going to be sold to Warner Brothers Discovery. So if you've got any comments about this, let me know. So as far as my feelings on this is, I feel this was more of an exploring, seeing what the options are. I do not feel that Warner Brothers Discovery is in a financial state to be buying out Paramount. They're going to have to take on a lot of debt, and they're already in, kind of at a point really where I imagine they've got so much debt from when they got brought out by Discovery. Can they afford it? I think this might be a little bit more of a push, maybe to get Comcast to make its bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. That's been something that's been rumored for a long time. I believe it's from the third, or I think from Easter onwards. Warner Brothers can then do some deals that they were kind of locked in for a couple of years after the purchase between Discovery. That was the kind of the rules that got put in place. I don't think Warner Brothers can really do anything with this Paramount. I just don't think that that's possible. Warner Brothers is easier for Comcast to acquire because there's no major networking. Same way, really, with Warner Brothers buying it because they don't have a network, so that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think Paramount, something is going to happen this year where that is going to either get massively pared down, they'll sell off a load of assets and become a smaller entity, and they'll just start licensing out to third parties, or someone's going to swoop in and pick up some parts. However, I think on a whole, we're going to see some big shifts this year with streaming. I think we're going to. There was a question earlier, so I'll deal with it then. But yeah, I personally don't think that's going to happen. Let's just see here what we've got. Ricardo says Warner Brothers just acquired a streaming service in Turkey, so they're in a position to buy assets now. Yeah, I think they are. I think they've got money for some stuff, but it does seem very, very strange. Ricardo also said, glad to see live after 2 weeks. Yep. It's kind of weird with like New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve, kind of the way it worked out. I mean, it was quite nice to have a little bit of a break, actually. It still worked. I mean, pretty much worked every day. I think other than Christmas Day, but yeah, that was good. What I know for sure is someone will definitely buy Paramount, maybe because of Sky, Showtime in Europe. Comcast could be a solid candidate. The only trouble with Comcast buying Paramount is they would have to sell CBS. They wouldn't be allowed to own it because they own NBC. Ricardo says, I saw that NBC Universal will be spun off from Comcast, and that way they could buy Paramount or half or remain as shareholders. But I wonder why they would separate from Universal. I don't think that would make a difference because they still wouldn't be allowed to have NBC and CBS. They'd have to sell off some assets. Matt says, I think Warner Brothers will buy Paramount and sell some of the content. I think Warner Brothers is going to go. I think they're going to go all in on selling to third parties. I think Max is not long for the world. I think they're going to dump and run. I think they're going to go to a Sony system. Kenneth says, to answer the question, Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount merging will be far messier than the 21st Century Fox acquisition. Yeah, definitely. And if anything, the merger should spin off separate linear assets. The respective companies can retain a majority stake, but private investors would hold the remaining. I think we're definitely seeing a weird thing with linear that it's a declining business. It's still making money, but I think the major studios, I don't think it's a mistake for them to completely get out of linear in some ways. I think it makes sense for them to pare down just to kind of focus on a few core ones. I think we're seeing a lot. We don't need as many channels as a lot of the explosion of channels happened when, like here in the UK, we had an explosion of channels because of like digital, and they had the bandwidth to do all these different channels, and they had the TVR stuff could come in and it was suited. But once streaming came along, that kind of become not necessary. Thank you very much to Raphael for becoming a member. Thank you so much. Knoxwave says, I feel like Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount don't need to merge. I think it's more about scale. Right now, if you want to become one of the big boys, if you want to become how many streaming services are you willing to subscribe to? If you're watching me, you're probably quite high. You've probably got quite a few because you're interested in streaming and in entertainment stuff. But not everyone wants to pay for lots of different streaming services. And that is an issue. And I think we're definitely getting to that point where there's too many. They're too small in order to warrant the cost value. I think Stars is going to be one that might end up being another one. I think that's going to end up disappearing. I mean, it's closing here in the UK anyway. But yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot of stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that carries on. Right, let's keep going on some of the questions. Daniel says, if Paramount was to merge with Warner Brothers, how could Disney benefit from it? I mean, I think there's a couple of ways that I think Disney could benefit from it. In some ways, they become much more of a bigger competition because they become much bigger. That the new entity would have much more scale and they'll be able to produce more. The good thing is it might open up the door for Disney to license more content from them. They do license shows and stuff from them already. And I think Disney Plus / Hulu is probably going to start, I feel like in the US, with the existence of Hulu, they're already kind of used to it and putting things on there. they might get into that thing of starting to license stuff as well to do battle with Amazon and Netflix. And yeah, I'm not necessarily 100% sure if Disney are I don't think the days of them just focusing on their own content. I think they could very easily start licensing some other shows to save themselves some money. Dana says, I love your thoughts on planning out a TV show for like 3 seasons with 6 episodes long, 18 episodes like Daredevil. Do you think that's something the studios should look at? Apparently they are looking at doing multiple seasons. I think the biggest problem right now with a lot of these streaming services shows is they do one show and then they cancel it and we don't see the end of it. I think with Marvel and Star Wars, we're kind of at a point now where they're not necessarily as worried. Maybe now with Marvel they more are about it failing. And I think having a plan, if you're going to do a long story or something like that, having that plan in place. I think like we've seen with Disney Plus where they've been launching all these solo series, they haven't really gone anywhere when they've left. This is, we don't know what's happening with Moon Knight. I mean, okay, we've seen Miss Marvel, but we haven't really seen a lot of these characters. So I do think we need more of that. Matt says, which features would you like to see Disney Plus add in March when Hulu is merged into the app? So we are going to see a big difference. I think so this is my pure guesses. I think we're going to see those little network hub inside the Hulu thing where it says like Warner Brothers and Nat Geo, Nickelodeon and ABC News. I think that's going to roll out globally within the Star Hub. I think we'll get that globally. The front page is going to get an overhaul with all the Hulu stuff being on the front page as well. That Hulu Hub will be there to entice you to, if you haven't got it, it will like be there enough to be like, hello, sign up, please. Give us some money. So I think that's going to be it. More integration. We'll see that. I think there's going to be a big difference with the expiry information. I think we're going to start seeing something a little bit more better in terms of what's leaving Disney Plus, because either a little expiry note, because at the minute, with all this Hulu content being in there, suddenly now we are seeing, we're seeing 50, 60 titles a month leaving. This is more than, when there was 1 or 2 a month, okay, it wasn't good, but you could at least give them the pass of being like, like if the Christmas Day special got removed, like in January, you're okay, most people aren't going to watch it, and it's just for a limited period. But if you're going to be removing, I don't know, a particular movie at the end of the month, I think they need to start incorporating that. So that's something I really hope. More collections, more functionality. You need to do something a little bit more with the watch list, with being able to remove stuff. I think that would be good. We need more searchability, more hubs, more collections and stuff to really be able to find stuff a little bit better, to try and because it's kind of funny because like we were flicking through Disney Plus this afternoon, and like my wife was going, there's a lot of like international shows coming up here, and like the front page seemed to be like full of them, which I know they've been releasing a lot lately, but it kind of to the point of like, what about that show? I said that's Latin American, because that one said that's Korean, and that one's now I know what all these shows are because obviously I cover on it, but I do wonder if it's annoying people with doing that. So definitely think that's going to be an interesting thing. Tim, and also let us know what features do you think they should, or do you think they're going to add in March? I think another one would be really cool is if we get this done. I'm hoping next week at the CES event that we might find out a little bit more on how it's all going to look and stuff. But maybe later down the line when we find out what's going on with ESPN Plus, maybe they incorporate that as well. Tim says, with Disney's ESPN signing a deal with Fletch TV and Foxtel in Australia last year, do you think that live sports will be coming to Disney Plus Australia? The fact that they signed that long-term deal does mean it's a little bit less chance, I think, of this happening. There are some live sports and stuff that I think they could start incorporating, but I'm wondering with the international sports of whether or not are they spending out enough money to warrant it. But adding in an ESPN hub for all the the Pat McAfee show and the because at the minute, like here in the UK, I don't think you can even watch them because they've closed down the ESPN place. It'd be nice to have somewhere for that to be, even if it wasn't live. I think that would be interesting to see what happens. But maybe they will tie it in when they launch the full version of ESPN on next year. I think that's the plan anyway. Babak says, do you think they'll add those fast channels and content onto Disney Plus as well? So they've been adding a lot of fast channels onto the ABC app in the US. I think it makes sense at the minute to keep the fast channels away from Disney Plus. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing them adding in some channels. I think that would be really good for them to do that. I think that would be a really cool way of them getting extra content in Disney Plus. So you just like flick through. So you've got like a Marvel channel. And you can flick through the channels. And so if you can't be bothered to find what to watch, you can just put something on. And maybe if you're busy doing something, I think that would be a good way of doing it. Tim says, at the upcoming earnings call in February, will Disney announce the ad-supported tier that's coming to Australia and New Zealand? If it was going to be any time, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was this coming week, because they're going to be doing an ad event at Las Vegas at the CES event. So they might announce some of their plans to do it. But if it's going to happen, a quarterly event would be a nice time for them just to be like, oh, and we're raising some more money over here and so on. But it's hard to know. But I'm guessing it's going to happen pretty soon. Bubba Trolling says, do you think that Disney Plus will cut its costs if Disney cannot get Disney Plus profitable by Q4? I think I think a lot of the cuts were done anyway. I think we'll probably see, I think Disney Plus will get profitable by the end of the year because of all the different asset cuts that they've been doing, the merging of stuff. If they manage to get like Hulu integrated, I think the ads are going to be bringing in more money. The price rises as well will have an impact on how much money that's coming in. I also feel like, I don't know what it's like if they offset some of the stuff from Star, maybe I don't know. It's really weird of how they've done it, but I do think that I think they are going to get there, and I think they will make sure they get there. Look at the amount. It's just the amount of cuts. I don't think there's much more programming they can cut because there isn't much coming out compared to the old days. There's a lot of stuff coming out from Disney, but the concept of it being a Disney Plus original is way out the window. Disney Channel's not really doing that. Nat Geo's not doing it. Everything's being shared now, and I think we'll see more of that moving onwards. But I think if they get their full plan in with Hulu, that's where they make some and save some more money. Right, let's jump back into the live chat. Let's see what we've got. Big thank you to Barbara Trolling for being a member for 30 months. Thank you so much. Do you think that Warner Brothers will close down Discovery Plus? Apparently it's making money, so they won't do it. I do feel that they're probably maybe more likely to do so if they got brought out. But there we go. Right, let's see what we've got here. Jonathan says, has Extraordinary finished filming? I think so, because I think it's supposed to come out this quarter. I think it's supposed to be out early 2024. You gotta remember, the filming on it probably didn't take too long because it's only a short series. But the UK is putting out a lot of tweets and threads and YouTube clips and stuff of the first season. So I would imagine they're getting close to it feels a bit like they're promoting that because they're getting ready for season 2. And obviously as well, it's going to be like shown on, I think, Channel 4 as well is going to show the first season. All right, let's keep going. Knoxwave says, to be honest, I knew that American Born Chinese wouldn't return for a second season since the series debuted long after. Sadly, we never get to know what really happened to the plot after the cliffhanger. I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised with the news. It was good to have it confirmed. I mean, again, 6 months on, no news about it. Generally, obviously with the strikes and everything, that really slowed everything down. But then the show just didn't move the needle, just didn't move stuff around a little bit. And I think it suffered from a lot of different problems. It just meant that it didn't get that audience, just didn't get in there. I mean, Disney put it out in different places. Yeah, I just feel like it didn't surprise me, to be honest. It just didn't. It sucks that they did it the way they did it. Yeah, it'd just be nice if they did it a different way. Right, let's see what we've got here. Caleb says, I don't see much benefits for Disney since it's less competition will make them complacent. Much more competition is better since they will pressure to do better. I would agree with that, but I don't think necessarily. I think if you have Comcast, buy either Discovery or Warner Brothers, or Paramount, or if you have Warner Brothers buy out Paramount, either way, that is going to make one of them much stronger, and you're going to have a much stronger competition. And there is the thing of, I 100% agree with you that there needs to be competition for Disney, because otherwise they get slack. And I think we can tell, like looking at the box office of last year and the movies, they got to a point, like with their superhero movies and with some of their movies, that I think they got complacent. I think they took the audience for granted, and they took maybe less risks, or I don't even know, they did take some risks, but at the same time, DC was no longer an issue for them. They'd won and they could do what they wanted. And I think there's a lot of competition until they are. You got to remember, Disney is not number one. They have not taken out, they're still smaller than Netflix in terms of streaming. They lost the box office race this year to Universal. They are not the top dog. So there's still going to be a lot of pressure on them to do it. And as long as there's 3 or 4 big players, I think that's good to have competition. Keenan says, I'm not a big fan of movie studios merging, because what if Paramount doesn't release as many movies as 20th Century? We're going to see less movies anyway. We've seen a boom over the last few years where they've all been churning out stuff to try and get you to subscribe to their platforms, and it's not worked. They're putting them out in the cinema. That's not pulling in enough money. The box office on a whole is that audience is more shifted around a little bit more, but more. The simple truth is, I feel like, they've all been racing to make more films, and now we've got to the point where it's like there's not enough money to warrant having all these films. So we are going to see a bit less. I wouldn't necessarily be saying I think the studios merging is not a good idea, but I feel like what a lot of people don't seem to be getting into is essentially like these old school studios that are kind of being swallowed up and removed. They've been replaced. Netflix, Apple, Amazon are the new major studios, and they are the big boys that 10 years ago they weren't around as movie. They aren't as focused on theatrical releases because that's not their business model. I'm not entirely convinced that like Amazon and Apple are really in it for the right reason. I could easily see either one of them pulling out of streaming TV, especially Apple. I think that could be pulled. I think that could easily be gone. Actually, I'm just going to do a poll. So the poll was 31% of you think that Paramount is going to get sold to Warner Brothers. 26 of you think it's going to be as it is. Let's end that poll. I'm going to do a different poll. So, start a poll. Which streaming service won't make it till 2025? Not 2023. No, wrong year. So Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, Max, and actually we'll go for Stars. Let's see what we say there. Right. Ricardo says, talking about Lionsgate, it's the news that they've already spun off from Stars, and at the same time, there's been a lot of reports that they have been like they're ready to separate now. I don't know if they're going to separate and then Stars kind of closes or goes bankrupt or does something, or they sell it on or does something to kind of get out of it. It definitely feels like a bit weird with how that's going on. Ricardo says, I hope that the official version of Hulu on Disney Plus includes some features as the rest of Disney productions, including selection of languages. It does need to, but in general, they need to get better selection of languages. It's a little bit lacking, especially on new releases. It was a little bit disappointing. Like, I think Ashu or Ashari or something. There's a new animated show that got added this week. It would have been nice to have that available with dubbing. I have this morning just finished off Moving. I finished off that. I really enjoyed that show. because it's had dubbing. So I prefer having dubbing. I am watching a show that's going to be coming up pretty soon that I'm having to do subtitles for. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I've actually really got into the series. So I have been doing a subtitled series, which there'll be a review coming up, I think a week or two. But yeah, so I do prefer dubbed than subtitles, but I think more selection is good. Let's see what we've got here. Kayla says, do you find it cool that Disney Plus imported most of the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise from Hulu? Then again, the ad tier helps since this is cheaper licensed content that brings nostalgia for the 90s kids. I think, again, I think a lot of the licensed stuff, it's very much hit and miss depending on what they've done with the deal, because they did add some new Pokemon series to Hulu this week, but that didn't get added over, which I think a lot of it is just like whether or not how they've worked it out and stuff. Tim says, has there been any news on the untitled Disney film that is set for release on November the 27th? No, nothing yet. Honestly, I wouldn't expect to hear much about that until maybe the Annecy Film Festival in June, maybe around the time that Inside Out comes out. I do think sometimes with Disney, with their movies, of like, they're just, or maybe during the Super Bowl, but actually, in some way, I don't get announcing a film 8-9 months in advance, because I don't think it helps. I think they should just, if they start that promotion a couple of months before and just rev up from there onwards. You put out a trailer now. Look at Elio. You put out Elio and then they delayed it a year. So by the time it comes out, that trailer will be nearly 2 years out of date. Kelly says, what helps is Yu-Gi-Oh! Licensing is non-exclusive since they're on multiple platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Prime Video, Peacock, Tubi, Pluto, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think if you are a company that is making this, I think is it Konami make Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that's right. It makes sense if you're trying to get your brand out to as many as you possibly can, it makes sense for you to do this kind of stuff. Knoxwave, so this year for the MCU, we will have 1 film and 5 Disney Plus TV shows. Do you think it's a good idea? That's a lot of shows to debut this year. That would cost a lot of money for marketing. Right. So we've got Deadpool 3, Echo, and Agatha. So that's the live action ones. Echo's out next week. The marketing's already pretty much underway. From next week on, there will be probably next to no marketing. It will just there'll probably be a few trailers, a few bits and pieces that'll go. Looking forward to watching that show. I'm looking forward to watching because seeing the first 3, need to see the last 2 episodes. I'm looking forward to watching that on Wednesday. So Echo is going to be done and dusted within the next week. So in the next 4 days, we'll have seen it. Agatha's not coming out until the fall, and that means that they can have a proper promotion. Really, that gives Deadpool 3 all summer, and then they got Agatha to push that. X-Men, the animated series, they ain't gonna spend any money on marketing. That any animated TV series is going to be very, very. There'll be a small little thing online, but they're not going to be spending any money on it. X-Men 97 is niche. It's not going to be watched by as many people. Your neighborhood-friendly Spider-Man is animated, so again, not as many people are going to watch it. And Eyes of Wakanda, we don't know anything about that yet. The simple truth is, as the minute it's animated, it will drastically drop down in terms of what people are watching and how many people will watch it. The other thing as well is animation I think an animated TV series doesn't count the same way. I think there you've got the diehard fans are going to watch it and they'll enjoy it. And if you're a casual, you're probably going to skip it anyway. I don't think many casual fans will be tuning in to the Eyes of Wakanda or your neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm looking forward to X-Men because I grew up watching X-Men. I loved that series when I was a teenager. I used to set my VCR to record it every time on Saturday morning when I was at work. That was my thing. But the animated series, they are not the same level. I know some people will argue that like animation is equal to live action. In the real world of Marvel and stuff, it's the same thing with Star Wars. The Bad Batch does not count in the same way when people talk about like this year for Star Wars. It just doesn't get counted in the same way. Knoxwave says, also, we'll be getting 3 non-MCU films, so like Madam Web, Craven, and Venom 3. So this is a key thing. I think that these films are. I think Madam Web is going to bomb. I need to refocus my camera. Madam Web's going to bomb. Craven's probably not going to do so well, and Venom 3 is probably going to do a lot less than the last two. This might be what makes Sony back up, come speak to Marvel, and they sort out Spider-Man, because I think this is going to kill them off to the point of the low cost, cheap, throw out as many superhero stuff as you possibly can. That era is over, and these 3 films are going to get hit over the head with that, because people are done on this stuff. They have had enough. They have. This last year, you look at all the DC films and the Marvels and Ant-Man and the Wasp, the audience has got bored of superheroes because they're not as good, they're not as interesting. They're using B team. When we talk about B team superheroes like Iron Man and Thor, these, other than Venom, Madam Web is so far down the list of, she's like on what why, definitely on the why list of why are they doing this. Yeah, just in these are gonna bomb. These are gonna do really badly. Kaylee said, I picked Star since their main businesses and linear and premium channels are going the way of Blockbuster. Yeah, I think Lionsgate are going to go, because they've just done their buyout of E1. I think they're going to go all in on doing a Sony license to everybody. At the minute, 36% of you think Paramount Plus will be gone next year. Stars is 44. Max, most people you think Max is safe. And Apple TV Plus is 13. I'm enjoying watching Apple TV Plus. I've got it for a few more months. We're watching Slow Horses at the minute. Watch Monarch. That's really good. Check out Monarch. Monarch is really good. Matt says, what shows and movies are you looking forward to watching on Disney Plus in 2024? Well, I think obviously Agatha, The Acolyte, Shogun. I'm looking forward to Death and Other Details. That's coming up pretty soon. That looks a lot of fun. That's definitely kind of got a me show. I like the look of that one. More of the Bear, more of Only Murders. Skeleton Crew. I saw a little bit of that Celebration, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that show. X-Men 97, because that's just, I love that. I love that series as a kid. Yeah, it's very noticeable that Disney did not put out a lot of previews over the holidays of what's coming up in 2024. They held that very tight to their chest. No big previews, no big flashy adverts saying all of this coming up, because they're holding on. They're waiting their hand, they're being a little bit more cautious. Also, let me know in the comments, what are you looking forward to watching this year? Chris says, what will it take for Disney Plus to have a more successful series, as so many have been cancelled? It's very tricky. I think you've got to get the acting's got to be right. The story's got to be good. It's got to get you in and got to be good. If you look at most of the ones that have failed, I think, you can see that putting out a vanilla, bland product doesn't necessarily work for a lot of these shows. I think the target audience that they're going for doesn't exist in the same way that it used to be. I think something like Turner and Hooch, Big Shot, those shows are not going to hit critical mass because the core audience is not interested in them. It's too bland for most people to watch. It's just not that exciting. Percy Jackson has nostalgia for a lot of kids and a lot of millennials and stuff, but also it's something a bit fresh and new. I'm liking it because I know nothing about this character. I've got no idea what's happening, and I'm along for the ride, and I'm really enjoying it. We're halfway through the season. That's what I watch on a Wednesday morning, really liking it. I feel like they've got to get better at marketing. And there's an odd one, because marketing is a little bit of a strange one, because I see a lot of people talking about like Disney don't market anything anymore. So if you break down like movies versus TV series, like the way that they used to market it was, putting ads on television, putting ads in front of movies at cinemas, doing Super Bowl ads, putting posters on buses and bus stops, newspaper adverts, magazine adverts just on the internet. And the trouble is, I feel like us as an audience, we've got much more accustomed to not seeing adverts. So especially like, if you've got ad-free Netflix and ad-free Hulu and ad-free Disney Plus, You're never going to see a trailer for the new Sony film because you're not seeing it. If you're on YouTube, you might see some ads there, but are they going to be spending money on ads there to get you? But if you go premium, you don't even see them. So that's a problem. If you're on websites, you're going to see ads and stuff, but, are they advertising there? It's going to be difficult, and etc. The way of getting audience, it's like using websites and social media and stuff to get people excited about films. But I also feel it's costing more to market a film. And also, is it actually working? If they spent another $100 million advertising the Marvels, was it going to bring in another $1 billion? Probably not. The same thing with the Disney Plus series. They've drastically cut down how much marketing there was. If you look at like the marketing for like season 1 or season 2 of The Mandalorian compared to season 3 or Ahsoka, drastically less because they're spending less because they have to make a profit. And you can say, well, it's counterproductive and all the rest of it. But Netflix doesn't spend a load of money on advertising, its latest show. It lets it do its work for it. It just puts it out there. I think marketing, what people want to see, of like seeing it everywhere, seeing it in McDonald's, like Happy Meals and stuff. A lot of like here, I don't think in the UK they can even do like Happy Meals anymore because they're not allowed to put promotions on cereal boxes. They can't put things. The rules have got so much more complicated for how they advertise a movie. They can't put out, Wish can't be advertised in the same way that a movie was 15, 20 years ago. Nearly everywhere that they used to advertise a film 20 years ago doesn't work in 2023 or 2024. And I think they've got to find a way of getting marketing. And it's difficult. It's a lot harder than it is. And just throwing money at a TV series doesn't make any money. If they could spend $1 billion trying to advertise all these different series, but if it doesn't bring in anything, I think advertising and marketing has changed so much, and it's trying to work out what's working, what doesn't. That's why with the actors strike, I think did hurt some of the box office of them not being able to go out there and do, when they turn up on Jimmy Kimmel, when they turn up and do the Hot Wings things, and when they do that is a way now of getting attention on it. But I don't know, it's very weird with marketing. It's not. I think a lot of us are trying to compare it to the past, and that doesn't work anymore. Right, let's see what we've got here. Babak says, will Disney get the rights to Pirates of the Planet of the Apes movies prior to the release of the new ones? Currently, they're all on different streaming services. Yeah, I did have a look. In the US, they're all over the place. Here in the UK, I think we've got most of them on Disney Plus. They might buy out. I mean, we've seen them do it in the past, but I don't know. It depends on when those contracts come to an end. It'll be nice too. Mama says, what do you think Hulu on Disney Plus far exceeds Disney expectations? I'll be talking about that tomorrow. That is tomorrow's video. And what do you think it means for March launch? Preview. Yeah, I think it's just gone very well. But I'm gonna leave that one because that one's gonna be tomorrow's video. So that's a little bit of a preview. Or as Paul Heyman would say, that's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. I totally screwed that up. Babak says, do you think it's a smart move to turn the ABC app into a fast service? Yes, I think it's a very smart move because ABC is a free-to-air television channel that is all about free TV with ads. That is exactly what the audience will expect, and it will be exactly what they get. And using the ABC brand to me makes so much sense, but only in the US. It isn't going to work here in the UK. It wouldn't mean anything. But they can put in at the end, on the ABC show, when they're putting it in there, between all the different, shows that they've got on, they can just put up a little flash banner. They don't have to spend any money advertising it, and they can build up that way. It's got established name. I think it's a really smart idea, and it allows them to experiment, do some different stuff with it without using the Hulu brand or anything like that. Kelly said, what are your thoughts on second season of What If? Should Marvel Studios continue to do more animation to fill in the gaps in the MCU timeline? I enjoyed season 2. I thought there were some really good episodes. I don't think the finale was as strong as the first season. I wasn't so keen on the whole. It kind of got mashed together at the end, and I didn't really feel like they needed to do that. Felt a little bit forced. Though I did enjoy some of the episodes, like Tony Stark's one was pretty cool. I thought the Christmas one, watching that on Christmas Eve, was a lot of fun. Yeah, I thought some of it was good. It was solid. As far as filling in the MCU timeline, no. I think they need to do what they're doing with X-Men and with Spider-Man. Take the animated series and just be like, and zombies, and be like, look, let this just be its own separate thing, maybe be its own separate multiverse or whatever it is. Just let it be on its own. I don't think we need it connected. I mean, I think like I Am Groot, you can do something with that, but let it. I think when I look back to like the Spider-Man series from the 90s, or if you've got like all these different shows, allow them to be different. They don't. Not everything has to be part of the MCU. Let's do a Spider-Man series where you can have the Avengers and the X-Men and stuff. Make the animated thing its own separate thing for kids now and teenagers and adults to be able to watch it. Not everything has to be connected to the MCU, and I think that would work better. The mainstream audience wouldn't really be focused on it. I don't think everything has to be connected with the animation side of things. Keenan says, according to the cinematists, I can't even pronounce that one. There are rumors of Universal wanting to make a Nintendo cinematic universe, which leads to the Super Smash Brothers movie. Well, if you were Universal, I definitely would be like, look, we made a lot of money with Super Mario. Let's do more of it. Let's look at the most popular games and go Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, Zelda, all these different franchises. You would be looking at what sells the most. Super Smash Brothers, yes, get all of these different characters in and do it. But, and this is the big but, the trouble is especially with these animated films, is how long are they going to do it? The story's going to be of it. The simple trouble is, as well, as like Super Smash Brothers doesn't have a story. You're just bringing together all these characters, throwing them together, and they're fighting. How long is it going to take? They can't take 15 years because this kid that, the kids that like Super Mario Brothers, like my nephews, they're going to be 15, 20. They're not going to care about it the same way. Yeah, I just don't think it'd be. Yeah, Super Smash Brothers movie looks really good, but they've got to be careful with it. You can't follow the MCU because it didn't really work. I think they could make Super Mario Brothers do a few movies and then they could do something. Connor says, following the success of Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, I wouldn't put that down as a success. It was a good movie, didn't do very well. Which Disney World attraction do you think is the next film or series? I don't know. I don't know if this format's working. It didn't really work for Jungle Cruise. It's too thin. I think Pirates of the Caribbean was unique and it made a story and a character that was different. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a Space Mountain movie. I don't think that's going to work. I do think Big Thunder Mountain could be the one if they play it right. That could be the thing, but that might be a way of getting around it. Mama says, do you think by March 2024 Disney will have solved the licensing issue for the rest of the library not yet on Disney Plus? Now, I think there's going to be some issues going on for a while. I think for me, the big question is the Comcast content. Is that stuff going to be pulled off there is they going to start expiring? And because a lot of it is coming over. There's been watching the content from Hulu on Disney Plus over the last week. I don't know if it was because of the holidays, but it's a very erratic in terms of when I check in the morning when they do the update. One day I did it, and like 3/4 of the movies didn't arrive. 2 days later, they all arrived. Sometimes the next day episodes don't turn up too late. It's still a little bit hit and miss at the minute. Keenan says, Jack Black said he's interested in a Super Mario Brothers movie sequel being a musical. Any thoughts? Yes and no. Jack Black, fun. Peaches was good. Kids are not going to sit for a musical version of it. It's not, and that's not Super Mario. Let Mario be Mario. Don't try. Jack Black wants to do a musical. And I can understand that from his point of view. Right. Mama says, why do you think the Sony movies released between 2017 and 2020 aren't released on Disney Plus while other Sony movies are available? That might be because they might be under a different pay-to contract That's probably what that is. There's probably a contractual reason for it. Right, so I'm just going to end the poll. So at the minute, we are at 46% of you think it's going to be Stars ending. Paramount is 36%. Okay, let's do another poll. I like doing these. Let's get you guys involved. So, okay. What series are you looking forward to in 2024? Keep writing 2023. Agatha, Acolyte. We've got Skeleton Crew. And I need another one. What other one have we got coming out? Well, I'll have to go with Echo because it's the only one I can think of. There we go. Right. Let's see here. Let's go down to the questions. Bobatronic says, do you think that streaming services need to be profitable in 2025 or will they risk closing? I think any streaming service can only be unsustainably lost for so long. I think there is that issue. With regards to Disney Plus, I think they will get there. I think they've been making the changes to get there. I think with the purchase of Hulu and them having all the engine all in there, they're going to be able to start ramping up, and bringing the two together will bring a lot of cost savings. There's a lot of benefits to them to being able to do this. All the advertising, I believe Hulu pretty much already is profitable. So merging them together is probably going to help with that. I think they'll get there. I think all of these deals that they've been doing where they're selling off Hulu and Disney Plus to like Charter and T-Mobile are drastically going to drum up how many subscribers they've got. It's still doing very well in Europe, and they've still got countries that they haven't launched in. But I think it'll be good. I think they're going to benefit as well from having like making less shows as well, not spending so much. Kyle says, what do you think the D23 will be like considering their lackluster Disney 100? Well, I think that you're going to look at it differently. D23 Expo 2022, I had a blast. I loved it. Loved the event. Disney 100, a little bit lacking. You could say the word for it. There's been some points in Disney 100 that I've really enjoyed. I went to see a concert last summer, and it was fantastic. Disney 100 concert, had a whale of a time. Had planned on going to the Disney 100 exhibition, didn't make it to London. There was a whole host of issues that I had with flooding and rail being closed. I just couldn't get up there, and that was the day I was going to go up there, so I didn't get in there. But it just didn't really hit as hard as we would have liked. I don't think they really pushed it with Disney Plus. I think they should have really leaned in on that on Disney Plus. But the Disney 100 was a little bit, it didn't really do a lot. But a lot of Disney anniversaries, that's what kind of it's all about, merchandise and all the rest of it. So it didn't quite. I mean, for me, Disney 100, I was there at D23 when it started. I said, well, I went to the concerts. Overall, I had a few points within that year that I really enjoyed it. As far as D23 this year, I am planning on going. My flights are booked. Tickets go on sale in the spring. I would like to get my ticket sorted so I know what I'm doing. But I think this year's D23 is going to be a little bit different. I'm liking the idea that we're going to have all the announcements in the arena. So therefore, more people can get in. It's going to feel more special when you've got 16,000, 18,000 people being on stage. I think that's just going to make it buzzier. I'll be honest, there is a little bit of me that's a little bit worried about it being at the arena from a logistics point of view for my end, because I'll be honest, I much preferred them being during the day, because in the evening I could go back and I could write stuff up, but also I could go to bed at like 9 o'clock because I had jet lag. And so for me trying to stay up for these shows I'm going to be exhausted. So, but I might have to have a later start in the morning, depending on how my body reacts to it. But that's my own personal issue. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. I will be with the idea of having the big panels in there. That might free up a little bit more time for the floor. I know I've literally had I had 2-3 hours walking around the D23 Expo last year because I was in the main arena all the time. So therefore I didn't get to do it. Same thing really happened with me with Star Wars Celebration this year. I got to have a little bit of time on the floor, but I'm glad it's 3 days and not 4 days like Celebration, because I felt that was a little bit too long. But Kayla says, speaking of movies, I went to see Donkey in cinemas on Christmas weekend. It was a good film, but while the film made modest profit theatrically, I feel it will get more love in streaming due to the genre. I hadn't even heard of that one. But I think we are, as generally, we're watching more films at home, and that's what's happening. Kelly said, I also noticed that Poor Things and Anything But You all became steep hits for Disney and Sony, respectively. There should be signs of focus on singles and doubles while limiting box office. I do think that, smaller films doing well at the box office is good. I think, if they can put out a movie for 10, 20, 30 million, 50 million, whatever it is, and it goes on and it becomes profitable, it's good. Poor Things doesn't need to make anywhere near the level of money. And I think in general, the box office is indicating that, these big blockbusters, there's just not enough views now to warrant the amount of money they're spending on it. I think we are going to see to a lot more smaller films. I think Searchlight and 20th Century can fill in that void a little bit more. I think this is a good thing. More choice, more smaller films is good, I think. They become bloated. Films at $200-300 million, they have to be at $1 billion before they even start making money. And I just don't know if that's not realistic. I think a lot of those big movies that got made were made on the old system. It's kind of interesting, and it's a shame because I watched The Creator I watched it on New Year's Day actually, and really enjoyed it. Thought it was really good, and I kept thinking all the time, like, this was made for like half, if not a third, of some of these like Indiana Jones and stuff, and it looks really good. The special effect, they need to be better at making just keeping the budgets under control. I think that's going to be the key thing for a lot of this stuff. Got a super chat here from Stephen. Thank you very much for your support, Stephen. Thank you so much. When's the Marvels and Wish coming to Disney Plus? So we don't have an official date or anything like that, so I can't tell you an exact date when they're coming. My pure guess would be we're probably looking at least 90 days from their theatrical release. So the Marvels got released, I believe it was like, say, the 10th of November. So that's 10th of December, 10th of January, 10th of February. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Marvels drops in February on Disney Plus. They're going to probably try and get a few. I've seen some people saying, like, well, they should just get it out there now. And it's like, yeah, this is the trouble of the quicker they rush stuff onto Disney Plus, etc., the people keep expecting it. So put maybe the Marvels is the big release in the second or third week of February, and then if you look at it from that way, Wish came out, I believe it was about 2 weeks or so after the Marvels. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Wish then drops in March, because in some countries it actually only came out. I think in Australia it was only on like Boxing Day, so there might have been a little bit of a delay on some of the releases. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Wish drops in March, because they're going to want to spread them out a little bit more, because they're not going to have as many movies coming down the pipeline. But again, thank you so much. Keenan says, no wonder why Disney Plus doesn't have live channels, because the ABC has them. Yes, but also as well, the difference is, like, live channels offering you like the Disney Channel and like FX, etc. That would impact on the cable companies, and they're not going to want to do that. So that's kind of an issue. So I'm just going to go up these live questions, see what we've got up here. Ricardo says, but Sony could still have hope after the release of Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse and still retain. Yeah, I don't think they're going to give up on Spider-Man. I just feel like these 3 Sonyverse movies coming up are probably going to send them a bit of a ripple with like the failure of Morbius, where it's like, this is not going to work anymore. You need just pack it in. Basically, it's not going to work anymore. Spider-Man will work, but all these side characters don't. Ryan says, maybe do a Teen Titan Go style movie for Sony films that bombed. Do we have to? I don't understand the Teen Titan things. Kay says, I know for a fact with Bianca Montez series on Hulu, WWE is going to carry on the marketing while Disney does the bare minimum. Yes, but also, again, this is the kind of thing with these shows, of the marketing. I mean, I know, like here with like the Kardashians. So let's take the Kardashian show here in the UK. That show got mainstream advertising. It had advertisements on the radio. It had advertisements on daytime TV. What Disney tends to do here is they'll tend to do like a one ad, and then they'll advertise like three or four shows within that ad, rather than being like, here's the Kardashians. It's like, here's on Disney Plus, and it's like Mandalorian, The Bear, Ahsoka, and Kardashians. They'll do like a montage video, and the music, and they'll do stuff on the radio. Sometimes I'll hear it when I'm listening to radio, that they'll have adverts. When I was, if I'm in London, and I was seeing Kardashians on buses, on taxis, they were advertising it. They were spending money on it because it is the most watched show. They know that it hits, and it hits an audience that it works on. You see this. I mean, Percy Jackson. I have not seen any advertising, but there's his other thing as well. The trouble with advertising is you have to be in that place to see it. And a lot of us, I think, if you're not buying newspapers, you're not buying magazines, you're not watching live TV, you're not going to see those ads. But I definitely feel WWE are going to push it most of all. Knoxwave says, most excited for The Boys season 4, Echo, Marvel Zombies. I don't know if I don't think Marvel Zombies is this year. I think that one's been bumped back. X-Men 97, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Never seen that one or watched it, so that one's should be worth trying. Abbott Elementary season 3, good. The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. That's definitely, I need to do some. I haven't watched any of the Walking Dead spin-offs. I've watched all the main season, but I need to kind of check them out. The Penguin. To be honest, I've completely checked out of DC. I think I watched one episode of The Peacemaker. I think I saw Black Adam, but I've really just totally just stopped DC. I didn't really enjoy the Batman either. I didn't get what everyone was so loving it for. It was just like, okay, I didn't get it. Yeah, and that was just my thing with that. Can number 2. I knew today was going to be a bit of a long one. There's a lot of questions. Matt says, what do you think of Disney losing the Steamboat Willie Mickey to public domain? They were good to the fact they were able to delay it last time, because it's already been delayed a couple of times. This is a big blow, obviously, for Disney to lose access to the mascot, but there's a lot of misinformation about there with this character, and it might be public domain, but there's still a lot of trademarks. There's a lot of, I would imagine Disney's been watching everything that's been going on, and they've been taking notes. I would imagine that they're probably going to let a lot of this stuff just fizzle because of interest this last week, and most of it will fizzle out. But they're going to go after anyone trying to make money from this, because they're going to get you on trademarks. Because Mickey Mouse might be, it's like these are trademarks, and they're going to go after anyone trying to. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of court cases, I think, coming up at the later half of the year. Knoxwave was also looking forward to House of Dragon season 2. Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed that first season. Skeleton Crew, Bad Batch, Umbrella Academy season 4. I'll be honest, I got bored about halfway through season 1 and haven't returned. And the Invincible season 2. I haven't watched Invincible yet. Again, this is where this thing of superhero fatigue. The Boys. I have watched the first 3 seasons and I really enjoyed it. This thing with superhero fatigue, it's not just Marvel, and I think that's the key problem. You got Marvel, DC, Amazon, Netflix. Like I've just watched Moving. We had the Sonyverse. There are so many projects that have been thrown out to us as superhero stuff that like here you've just pointed out. Umbrella Academy and Invincible are superhero stuff. It's just more superheroes, and I think audiences are getting bored of superhero stories because that's not unique. Some of them are good, I'm not saying, The Boys was able to stand out because it was an alternative to it, but that will only last so long. Caleb said one lesson to learn from 2023 is Marvel, the brand, and the actors aren't the box office draws. That's why they need to cast actors who are box office draws. I think the trouble is, and I think this is a key thing, who is a box office draw anymore? I don't think that exists in the same way that it used to. I don't think you can just pop an actor into a movie and it will just automatically make money. Look at Mission Impossible this last year. Didn't work. Harrison Ford didn't work. So many films. You can't just put an actor in a movie and it will work anymore. People, I think social media has removed that veil of like when you used to see these people come up, you didn't see them. Now you see them all the time. It just doesn't have the same impact. Aaliyah says Marvel released a clip from season 3. Any chance it will be this year? If so, when? I think it'll be next year. I don't think it's this year. There's not enough. There's not enough room in the schedule. They've already got 3 animated film series. They don't need 4. What if is I think the only thing is they tend to be quite I think some of the episodes from season 2 were actually made for season 1, and I think probably the one we saw was maybe one of the ones that was bumped or something. Chris says, why doesn't Disney Plus put a coming soon when you log in and let us see trailers like Netflix? They are really bad at like not promoting their content properly. Again, I do hope that with the relaunch of like Disney Plus with the Hulu stuff, they might be able to get their act together a little bit more and start promoting stuff and getting a bit better with the coming soon section. And when they can start throwing in there the Hulu stuff, it might look a little bit more better than here's 4 shows, 3 of which are international ones that most people aren't going to watch. Keller said, speaking of the ABC app, it constantly crashes on Roku. I think I'm going to have to send Roku an email to fix it. Yeah, I mean, it depends on whether or not it's Roku or is it just the app needs an update. You know, they might. It's worth sending at least an email, maybe to support maybe at ABC as well. It's kind of weird. It's like this whole thing, right, with different apps and stuff, because in November we got rid of our Sky, so we were using our Sky Q box for accessing like Disney Plus, and rarely had any issues with our apps. So we got rid of that, and I had my smart TV, my Samsung TV, and my Apple TV unit. The only reason I had Apple TV primarily was because of watching early stuff. I needed to have access to a particular app, and the TV, trying to go cord cutting of just on the smart Samsung TV, it was a bit sluggish. It was all right. It did the job. But using my Apple TV box for using like iPlayer and Disney Plus and Netflix, and it just runs so smooth. My Apple TV, of using it now like for 2 months as a cord cutter and just going all in on streaming. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm really thinking Apple TV it's such a good experience for everything. Every app I've been using, when I watched Daz for like the NFL, when I've been using Warhammer TV, Channel 4, BBC, ITV, the apps all just seem they just run so well on Apple TV. I think when they bring out a new version, I probably will get myself a new one, because this is an old box, so imagine how much faster it will be. Matt says, do you think that when Hulu merges fully with Disney Plus, we'll get the same releases all over the world? I would hope so, but I think there's always going to be some argument. There seems to be the biggest problem seems to be here in Europe. We seem to have stuff delayed. I don't know if it's because of dubbing and stuff. It is strange because, like, I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with the director of The Naughty Nine, and they said that they had to submit their film a few months in advance to get all of the international, or to get all like the languages done. So it had already been submitted. I mean, I think it was only like 2 weeks later for us in the UK, but it would be nice if we start getting better. And I'm maybe thinking with less releases, it might get better, but don't count on that. I'll be surprised if it does. It's like why Culprits was released here in the UK, then it got released a month later in America on Hulu. It's not even been released in Canada or Australia yet. I mean, why not? Then you got like The Artful Dodger. That comes out in 2 weeks here in the UK. Why did we get it late? Matt says, I heard that Disney Plus is going to get Grey's Anatomy back in the US. Yeah, they made a deal with Netflix where in March, Disney will get access to the previous 19 seasons to put on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus. In exchange, Netflix is getting like a dozen shows from ABC in 20th century, including I think like Lost and stuff. And yeah, they basically kind of did a trade-off of like you can have some access to some shows and we get Grey's Anatomy, which is like our biggest TV series. It is the #1 trending show on Disney Plus every day here in the UK. Grey's Anatomy is huge. And I think a lot of people really seem to like miss like, oh, it's just Grey's Anatomy. Well, it's not worth 15 owed shows or whatever it was. It's like it is the #1 show. It is constantly trending. It's constantly on the Nielsen chart. It is constantly up there. It is one of the most watched shows, and Disney are spending a fortune making new episodes. Of course, they want to take advantage of the old episodes. Yeah, very, very strange. Right, loads more questions. I need to rattle through these. Matt says, what streaming is going to be closing or emerging in 2024 or 25? I think we're going to see more consolidation, more closures. I think we're definitely going to see a lot less. Daniel says, if Star International has to be rebranded to Hulu, how would they handle it in Japan with Hulu as a separate entity? Well, they have made a deal with Hulu in Japan where they can now get a bundle. So that might be way. They might just carry on in Japan using the Star branding. A bit like how in like Turkey, they don't use the Star Hub. They have a different hub. So if they did rebrand Star to Hulu, maybe in Japan it just stays as the Star Hub. Babek says, why doesn't Disney Plus air the Christmas Day, New Day specials the same day? It feels silly to do next day. Oh, this was so stupid. So stupid of like Christmas Day. Thanks, Knoxway. Thank you so much. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you for being a supporter. Yeah, Babak, it totally made no sense of why you would not put the Christmas Day special on Disney Plus on Christmas Day. Instead, you put it on there on Boxing Day or the day after for Americans. What? It was all pre-recorded. I could understand if it was live, but just not doing it. It just seemed ludicrous that they did this. I don't know if it's like, it must be something to do with their deals with cable companies where they're still like linear first. It's just very weird. Keenan says, it's the ABC app Disney's fast service, no wonder Disney Plus and Hulu don't have live channels. I think they're kind of turning it into one. I think they've been experimenting with it. It makes sense. ABC in the US makes sense to use as the free one. And if you were Disney Plus, you wouldn't really want to be putting a lot of money into launching like a Pluto TV when you want to try and get people to sign up to Disney Plus at $4.99 or cheap deal. Keenan says Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery should not merge like 20th Century Studios because less movie studios and less streaming services. I don't think it's a bad thing with less streaming services. I think there are too many. Yeah, but the thing is with movie studios is, as Jeff Goldblum famously said, life finds a way. There will be other studios will take their place. If Paramount went tomorrow, the void will be filled by somebody else. Tim says, why is the release scheduled for the Simpsons all over the place? As some weeks we're getting an episode and then the next we're not. Do you know why that is? A lot of this is down to the US release schedule. And it's kind of weird because like here in the UK, what would always tend to happen with American TV shows is, and a lot of this was like in pre-internet days, where a show would come out and we would have to wait a few months until we would get it. I remember Smallville used to be notoriously bad for it because what would happen is the UK market would wait until the series was basically filled. So we would then get a run of 22 weeks or whatever it was of a new episode every week. Of American TV shows, we didn't have mid-season breaks. We never were used to mid-season breaks. We never had them. Growing up, I did not, when like as a teenager and as an adult, Mid-season breaks never existed because British shows generally never go beyond 6 to 8 episodes unless it's a soap. So we never really had mid-season breaks because none of our shows were long enough to need a break. And so they would hold the American ones and let run through it. So with The Simpsons in the US, they do have mid-season breaks. They'll stop for Christmas and they'll stop for this bit and they stop there. And there's an NFL game. So now the trouble is, as these shows are becoming available to us more globally at the same time, we're getting the US release schedule. And I think there's a little bit of a thing of they don't schedule these shows to be like continuously like the same way that we would. And I think a lot of that, again, is the linear system is still in place. And as Keenan just said, Hell's Kitchen has a mid-season break. It's a reality show. We don't have that here in the when Gordon Ramsay's reality shows go, we get the full season. Sometimes there might be maybe an episode is skipped 1 week because there's a major event like a coronation or a death or something. But generally here in the UK, we will have, but our seasons are much shorter, so therefore you don't tend to get breaks because they'll schedule it on purpose to keep you going. But in America, mid-season breaks are commonplace, so it's used to it. Connor says it's strange to see a tornado in the UK. Yes, so over the New Year, we had a massive tornado, and it was actually just near where Connor lives. Luckily, his family and everyone's fine, so they're good. But yeah, we don't get them very often. It was a really, really bad weather we had over the Christmas bit. Right, let's carry on with the live chat. So when I get to the end of the questions, that'll be the end of the show, but we've got quite a lot of questions. I knew today would be because obviously not doing it for 2 weeks. Tim says, I'm surprised that What If Season 3 is coming soon. Well, we knew they were making it. We knew that they were making that one, but I think it was more just, it was more of a teaser just to say it is coming soon, but it was a 2-year break between seasons 1 and season 2, so don't expect it anytime soon. Ken says, keep in mind, Nintendo has editorial control for future Nintendo films, so Universal has to consent with Nintendo first before they proceed. Yeah, and Nintendo are much more protective of their stuff. What are predictions for Disney this week event? So this is at the CES event in Las Vegas on Wednesday. I believe it's at 3:00. There will be an event, but it's by the Disney advertising. So get that first off, it's the advertising thing. There is going to be a few surprises, but do not be expecting loads of stuff to be revealed that day because, again, this is for advertising and for tech stuff and for journalists and so on. It is not a big San Diego Comic-Con. It's not that kind of event. I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw a preview of the new Hulu on Disney Plus. If I was to make any guesses, that would be when. If they were going to be making any announcements about special new features and stuff, that is when. It's almost like a tech showcase to show what's coming, because that's what it is. It's a tech showcase. So more of a technical aspect to it of what's coming in. I think that's where we're much more likely to see stuff. So I am hoping that we get to see some of the backside of water, so sort of that side of things. More technical issues. Don't be expecting, and also like in general, I would say right now with like Marvel shows and Star Wars shows, I'm not expecting anything to get revealed until D23. They are cutting back. So that's why I just spotted something there from Tim. So you just told me that Culprits is on SBS in Australia. Ooh, this is interesting. I didn't realize this. I'll have to look into this. I will be making a note of that one. I'm wondering then, is this just not a Disney Plus original? I don't know they sold it on. This is really weird. That is really weird that they would have done that, because it's almost like they've sold it on. That is strange. That would make sense of why it's not been out yet. But that is really weird. I'll have to look at that. Thank you, Tim, for that. It's always good to have information like that, because sometimes, this is the thing with some of the stuff coming from you sent me the link. Thank you so much for that. Also, if you are a member of Patreon or YouTube, I need to send out the list again. We do have a Patreon, so we do have a Discord for our members and stuff, which is a kind of a way you can get in touch and stuff. Tim says, I was going to go see Disney's Wish on December, but I saw Migration. I'm waiting for Wish and Marvels to come to Disney Plus. I'll be honest, I'm doing the same for Wish. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait for that one. Let's see what else we've got. Bible Trialing says, do you think Warner Brothers Discovery will be sold in the next 3 years, with or without Discovery? I think it'll get Discovery will be coming with part of it, but I think there's going to be a deal of some kind. They will not exist in its current format. Matt says, when is Hitmonkey Season 2 coming out? This year. That's all. We've had a very small little teaser coming out. Nothing much on it. Yeah. Noxwave is excited for Hitmonkey Season 2 as well. I didn't really click with that show. Matt says, will we see some legacy content on Disney Plus? I'd like to say yes, but I don't know. We'd seem to be getting... I think we have to get this Hulu app on Disney Plus stuff sorted first. Matt says, are you looking forward to the Olympics? No. As far as I'm concerned, the entire Olympics is an entire waste of time, effort, and money, and is just a sports day for the world. And I hate this sports day. So, yeah, maybe a controversial opinion, but the Olympics is just... I don't get it. If we were that excited about the Olympics, why don't we watch track and field every day or every week when another sport comes on? That's my thing on that one. Everyone suddenly gets really excited, like, yay, track, someone's going to run around a track. Well, we've not cared about it since the last 4 years, but suddenly now we're supposed to care. But never. Noxway, it's the same really like that with like here in the UK, like tennis. We only care about tennis for 2 weeks of Wimbledon. Noxwave, we haven't heard any updates about season 4 of The Mandalorian. I heard they start filming next month. Not heard anything. Wouldn't surprise me. We had heard that they were writing it before the writers' strike, but again, the strikes have just caused lots of issues with this kind of stuff. Yeah, we did that one. I did that one. Tim says the shows I'm looking forward to this year include The Proud Family Season 3, Extraordinary Season 2. Really looking forward. That was one of my highlights of last year. That was so cool. Not Dead Yet Season 2. I watched 2 episodes. Yeah, kind of fell off of that one. X-Men 97, Monsters at Work Season 2. I'm not so keen on that one. Bad Batch, want to see that one. Phileas and Ferb. I'm not a huge fan of that series, but yeah. I don't know about Tiana and Moana. I wouldn't guarantee that they are coming out this year. They've not been mentioned, but especially Tiana don't be surprised if they don't come out. Kelly says, speaking of What If, I noticed Hela sounded different in a standalone episode compared to a cameo in other episodes. Then again, it's possible Kate Blanchett did some recording under the weather. Yeah. I did enjoy her episode. I thought that was quite fun. Chris says, local ABC channels are saying they're losing viewers. Why can't you just stream it on the ABC app without providing a login? I think that would help their ad revenue. You got to think of it. The local channels are they are trying to protect their own business. They're built around a system built before streaming, and they're just trying to survive. They're an old business, and they are, ultimately just, you can see why they're doing it, and there's lots of contracts and stuff in place. But yeah, very interesting to see that one. Caleb says it's very possible that Disney will make the deal with Reliance to use a star name outside of India in other markets where it applies. But that's another discussion for another time. I think we're going to see Disney moving away from the Star brand anyway. I think that's going to happen a lot anyway. Aaliyah says, I enjoyed the Christmas Day special, even if it was Boxing Day. Yeah, won't lie. Same day would have been better. It totally makes sense. Tim says, will Dancing with the Stars USA be back on Disney Plus and ABC this year? I would imagine it would be. I can't see why it wouldn't be. Ricardo says, I just forgot that Disney and Reliance would combine their Indian businesses later this year. Maybe that has to do with the Hulu acquisition around the same time, and they want to finish the process. They could then use the Hulu name globally. I think that it makes sense now with Comcast out the way that they could then use the Hulu brand instead of Star It clears up a lot of marketing issues. There's a lot of wasted money being spent on marketing, doing different adverts, different posters, reduces confusion within the marketplace of when they put out a press release, so they can say, this is coming to Hulu on Disney Plus. And that will apply everywhere. That terminology can be used globally. And that's going to be much more powerful, much more better for like advertising. If you're putting out a new show like Death and Other Details, and you're putting out that branding, it's going to be much easier for them to sell that show. And just because when they put out a tweet or a trailer or something like that, it's watched globally, and this is where the confusion factor comes in. Right. Okay. So we have reached the end of the questions. Big thank you to everyone for sending in your questions. Thank you so much for being a member. Big thank you to Stephen for your super chat. Thank you so much. I'll be back next week for another live Q&A at the same time. If you are a Patreon or YouTube channel member, look out for the post on Friday. I tend to post it at the end of the week because what I found in the past is if I put it up too early, what will tend to happen is the questions will be asked and then the event will happen or something will happen later. And so I put up at the end of the week, but keep a lookout for it. Again, thank you for all your support. Let's get ready for 2024, and I shall see you guys next week, or actually, hopefully, in another video. You can check out one from before, but thank you very much. See you guys soon. Latest.